Irashaimase! Welcome to our convenience store. Today, we will introduce you to some of the books in our store that the story has related with the social trends right now. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, what it is? Tell me something about the book.
Well, the book name is actually simple and defines us right now. Convenience store woman.
Wow, it's such an unpredictable name indeed.
Yeah.
But before we dive into the book, let's introduce ourselves first, shall we?
Oh yes. Well, I'm June, and you're Missy?
I'm Pam. And welcome to our convenience store.
So, Pam, about the book today, Convenience Store Woman, right? What about it?
The book is Convenience Store Woman, written by Sayaka Murata and translated by Ginny Trippi Takemori. The story is about a woman called Keiko, who has always been seen as a weird person, who did not understand social code. Growing up, her family was worried that she would be able to cope as an adult. So they were incredibly happy to see her when she went to university and also took on the part-time job as a convenience store worker. The only thing is that 18 years later, she's still working that same job.
Oh,
And
really?
although she is very content in the position that she in, she very well aware that she not living up to society expectation and that it gradually becoming the bigger problem for her.
Oh, yeah, really? Well, yeah, the book is so interesting, and I enjoyed the story a lot. It wasn't like anything I have ever read before. What do you think about it?
I agree with you. That book is so good.
Yeah. Well, I did some research on Murata and her books. I found out that she actually worked for 20 years herself as a part time convenience store worker. Can you believe that? And it's also not very often that you get to read the book in which the main character is asexual. I saw her fall under that umbrella, and it was so nice to have that representation in the book. The backdrop, of course, was the convenience store, and that is significant because convenience stores in Japan are a fundamental part of daily life. They are almost everywhere, and most people visit one at least once a day. Despite this, in Japan, it is not very common to write about experience at work, especially when it's work that doesn't really have a lot of requirements. So, in that context, this is a really unique piece of Japanese literature.
Yes. What I like about the book was how character driven it was in the event that occur are rather mundane. But in my opinion, Keiko was so interesting. I really want to know what made her think. Keiko doesn't understand the unwritten rule of society. So she always explicitly learning things how to pick up on social cue or how to act appropriately in public.
Oh, yeah.
She's such a pragmatic and logical person that by looking at the world through her eye, you really start to notice how irrational we sometimes can be as a human.
Oh, yes. And I also really like the absence of sexuality in this book. Like I said before, that Keiko is asexual and she really isn't interested in any sexual. Murata herself also talked about how Keiko really does away with her woman hunt, and you can also see it in the original title, which is Konbini Ninjing, which translates to you as a convenience store person or human. Well, I watched some interview with Murata in which she talks about growing up and having to face her own sexuality in her secondary school. But she said that she was always told to be pretty and try to fit in so that she could be accepted by men. Is that make sense? And she felt especially conflicted by the word acceptance, and that occurred throughout her life. That's sad. It is something I feel a lot of women can relate to since we are often valued based on our youth, attractiveness, or sexual experience.
So true.
Mm-hmm.
And the character that really drive the point home in book is Shiraha. At some point,
Yeah.
Keiko realized that it becoming harder to keep people from bothering her. She satisfied with being single and working at the convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
But for people around her, it just not enough. So she get bombarded with questions like, "Why are you married yet? Why you don't get a real job?" And to relieve herself in that pressure, she has her former discreet colleague Shiraha move in, and Shiraha is an awful and utterly better person.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, I remember that guy, and he is like a little bit bastard, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he a misogynist and angry at how society had treated him. Never looked at his own fault and falling, and instead blaming everything on everyone else. He decided he wanted to hide from society, living with Keiko, and in return, Keiko can say that she living a man.
Yeah.
She see it more as a pet or relationship.
Yes.
And what do you think about the aftermath of that relationship?
Well, I just think that the moment that people find out about Keiko and Shiraha, her entire life has changed. All of a sudden, she's on the other side. She's finally conformed the societal rules and she noticed the switch. Even her coworkers start inviting her out for drinks, and her friends start treating her differently. She comes to the realization that despite all her effort over the years to fit in, she was always still seen as an outsider. That in the end, and only just took a man and a very medical one for that matter for her to finally be validated by others. And that is truly sad.
Yes. Okay, now this is a bit spoiler. Spoilerly.
Yes, probably.
If you like to skip it, I have put a timestamp. I love how in the end she chose the convenience store over being accepted
Oh yeah.
as a cold or uncold normal person. Even though she initially started the work to being perceived as normal. Ultimately, she decided not to compromise her life because of the outer people opinion, and I felt that it was such a powerful thing to do.
Yeah, agree.
And I like to add, when I finished reading this book, I wonder if Murata used this story to criticize the standard of conformity that is so prevalent in our society. But she said, "I don't write novel to criticize, so I think it's a description." As I keep describing, the main character is tormented by the world. So it may seem critical, but as an author, I try to describe very precisely. And I like that. As I say, Keiko is extremely logical. Even people tell her things that are extremely loose and disrespectful. She always leaves emotional out of the equation.
Yeah, she was good with that. Well, reading this book made me think a lot about conformity because it is such a complicated subject. You have society trying to force you to be a certain type of way so that it can benefit from you, but you adhering to those rules might not be directly beneficial to you. But you are also a part of society, so when society prospers, you usually do so as well. So it is this weird scale where it is hard to find a balance, and I don't think there is one right answer as to how to deal with it anyway. I like the way that the author tried to portray us to relate with the social context that everyone will get along with, and people can be provoked with some context of the protagonist, Keiko herself, that can possibly give them the realization of reality in the present society. But overall, we really enjoyed this book and we would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much for listening. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you in the next video or next podcast. But before we leave, make sure to stay safe during the global pandemic.
Yes, guys. Don't forget to wear mask. Stay safe and see you soon.
Goodbye.
Bye.